It's been a momentous day in France, where lawmakers are tackling a proposed bill that would make paying for sex a criminal offence. Right now, prostitution is legal in the country. The controversial measure will see clients fined up to nearly 4,000 euros if they're caught repeatedly with a prostitute. Supporters say this will protect women from traffickers and pimps. But opponents warn that it will only drive sex workers into the shadows, putting them even more at risk. The measure has passed the National Assembly, but now needs the approval of the French Senate and indeed French President François Hollande before it becomes law. France is taking its inspiration from Sweden, where a similar law punishing clients was passed in 1999, and apparently it has cut street prostitution in half. But still, the idea is being met in France with mixed reviews, and for more on this, I'm joined from Paris by Natalie Nougayrede. She is the editor of Le Monde newspaper, which is a publication, an influential paper there that's come out against this bill. Natalie, thank you and welcome back to this program. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Christiane. It's a pleasure.
Let me ask you just to outline the basis of your opposition to this law.
I have to be very clear on this. Le Monde actually favors part of the content of this law. To sum it up, we have come out in support for the part that says prostitutes, women who want to get out of prostitution have to be helped, and human trafficking has to be fought, severely fought. The problem we have with part of the law is the part that criminalizes clients, that says that it is forbidden to buy sexual services and that there is a fine if somebody is indeed buying up the services of a prostitute.
Okay, well, let me press you on this a little bit, because for years people have said it's the women themselves, it's the prostitutes or those who've been forced into prostitution who've always had to pay the penalty. That is where the illegality and the burden has been. Now, Maud Olivier, who's the socialist parliamentarian who's been drafting this bill, says that this will move the penalty and the burden from the woman onto the client. Why do you oppose that? Be clear about that.
Well, what we feel strongly about is that if you criminalize the client, basically you're saying that any paid sex is wrong, is completely wrong, and that actually cancels any notion that a person, a woman or a man, may want to actually, on his own or his or her own free will, carry out this activity of prostitution. We have a problem with the notion that legislation gets into basically private lives and determines whether having sex with somebody where money is involved is legal or not. It's a really controversial issue here in France, and I can tell you that at Le Monde we had long, deep discussions about this. We decided that we wanted to make this precise stand that having legislation determine whether paid sex is legal is basically this belongs to the private sphere.
Right. Well, I sort of hear
women.
I hear what you're saying, because there are some women who say, hang on a second, we are sex workers, we are paying our taxes, and we actually shouldn't be penalized and our work shouldn't be taken away from us. We should actually have more protections and a way to make our work safer. Some women are saying that. Others, though, are saying, for instance, in Sweden, where this law took effect, a similar law about 10 years or more ago, in 1999, it has cut down street prostitution by about a half. So people are saying that that's a success. Are you concerned that it doesn't distinguish between willing, tax-paying, law-abiding sex workers and those who are victims of organized crime and violence and a whole different kind of sex work?
You know, it's 100% sure that we, as any person with any notion of humanistic values, will come out strongly against human trafficking, and we know that a large proportion of women who are out there on the streets are exploited and victims of these criminal gangs or pimps. What we feel is that it's important to sort of focus on the actual women or person who is prostituting himself or herself. Where is his decision? Where is his freedom? We know this is very, very difficult to decide and define, but you cannot sort of say that any person who does carry out that activity is never ever has never ever made a free decision to carry out that activity.
All right.
Also, taking prostitutes off the street does not guarantee that they are actually in any less vulnerable. If prostitutes go underground, they are in a major way exposed to more criminal circles or systems.
Right. Let me ask you this then. It's kind of strange because you said it's divided and it's very controversial in France. The fact is, according to a poll that I read, only 22% of the French people, that's a real minority, actually approve of this bill. So, and France is known for its libertarianism, its sensuality. Why is this being tackled in France, of all places, of all times, right now? Actually, this goes back to some of the promises that President François Hollande had made during his election campaign. But indeed, the issue had sort of vanished. We had other very controversial issues being discussed in France. You may remember the whole controversy around gay marriage a few months ago. This issue was brought back up to the surface by one of the members of François Hollande's government, who is a woman and who comes out very strongly with abolitionist positions, saying that prostitution as a whole must be abolished in France because it is overall, it is slavery. So there's been a very, very active discussion in France with a lot of divisions among intellectuals, within political parties. And what happened today was basically the law was passed by the National Assembly. It has to go through the Senate, as you said. And it was passed by a fairly large majority, but after weeks and weeks of controversy. Just very briefly, one-word answer. Do you think it'll get through the Senate before reaching the president's desk? Will it pass?
I think it will pass, yes. I think this shows that France is undergoing a lot of discussion about its social model and what values France wants to promote in its society. And this shows that in a context of economic crisis, a lot of other issues are coming up to the surface.
That's really interesting insight there. Natalie Nougayrede, editor of Le Monde, thank you very much indeed for joining me.